Hello, it is Thursday, the 19th of November, 2020. Graham Hughes, and this is the Hughes at 10. And tonight, we're bullying of three different civil servants, which you're not supposed to do. Although it's saying that my connection is unstable. Oh man, gremlins there. I had to have a word with my producer and get sorted out. Anyway, I was just telling you about Priti Patel. Basically, there's a report coming out that has been suppressed, I think, by the Conservatives that basically says she's a horrible, nasty bully. Comes as a massive surprise to everyone because she seems like such a nice person who wants to put innocent children on Ascension Island, which is a rock in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. In other news, Trump is still trying to overturn the result of the election that he lost a couple of weeks ago, and he's failing miserably. He's had 25 court cases be thrown out so far, 25. And people think he's not doing it because he thinks he's going to win the court cases. It's more about getting people on side for him to say, yes, there was something amiss with this election. And unfortunately for people who care about, fairness and democracy, it seems a lot of his Republican voting comrades are going along with it. Not just the people at the top, but also the people who vote Republican. Just after the election was announced, just after Biden was announced to have won, there was quite a lot of Republicans, over half, that said, yeah, that sounds fair enough. And that percentage is going down. And that's a bit of a worry. So what else in the news today? So also in America, the death toll has risen to over 250,000 people, 250,000 people. About 60,000 soldiers were killed in Vietnam over the course of about 14 years, from 1961 to 1975. So at least 4 times more than people who died in Vietnam over 14 years. Civilians have died now in America over the last 9 months. Actually, 8 months. Okay, that's all been a bit rubbish. And the other big news story today was about our idiot leader, Bojo the Clown, or Blowjob. He announced that they were going to spend, what was it, something like 21 billion on the armed forces. Yeah. Oh, when when a politician is drowning, don't you? Because they go on daft military adventures. That's the big thing, isn't it? Yeah, you're not doing so well in the polls. Everyone knows you're a con man. Oh, do you know what? We'll go and invade Abyssinia. That'll show them. And it always works. Except when it doesn't. And we've seen time and time again when somebody does something really daft with the military, it usually blows up in their face, one way or another. The other thing is that Trump is pulling the American troops, out of Afghanistan and out of Iraq. I mean, there's one part of me that thinks, well, fair enough, they have been in Afghanistan for 20 years, but that's because any student of history will tell you that you never win a war in Afghanistan. You just can't. But yeah, they've been in Iraq for 18 years. But what's probably going to happen there is that his little generals are going to go, yes, sir, we'll pull out the troops. We're just getting them pulled out now. They're just getting ready. They're just packing up the toothbrushes. They'll be on their way, and just sort of leave them in a holding pattern until January the 20th. And I don't want the American soldiers to stay there because I'm some kind of warmongering lunatic. I want them to stay there when they are keeping the peace. And if there's a chance that civil war is going to break out, if they pull the troops out, and we see a disaster like we saw in the wake of Obama pulling out the troops from Iraq in 2011 too fast, I'm not saying they shouldn't pull them out, but there's a way that you pull out, in the same way that when you decide to, uncouple yourself from a country that you've basically just plundered for the previous 100 years in the colonial days, you can't just pull out overnight. You've got to have a plan. It's got to be done over several months, if not years. Otherwise, you will leave a vacuum, and that vacuum will be quickly taken up by a lot of people who are very pissed off because they've been living in a country that's been basically under foreign rule for many, many years, and that's annoying for anyone. Not least of all me, because I don't like being told what to do by those meddling bureaucrats in Moscow. I mean Brussels. Yeah, Brussels. That's the one. Trump has blown it. His base don't want the vaccines. That's a very good point. So I'm going to come to some of your messages. I've already seen someone mention about Lawrence Fox. This is absolutely brilliant today. Loser Fox. His hashtag is his Twitter handle is at. And then it's Loser Fox, but it's spelled a bit weird, but it's pronounced Loser Fox. And this is a guy who he's like for those of you who don't know him, and that's most of us until a few months ago when he was on Question Time for some reason. He is an extra in daytime TV shows or shows that your grandmother watches, like Inspector Morse, which is mad because Inspector Morse has been dead for John Thor, was it? He's been dead for 15 years. How can there be Inspector Morse? It makes no sense. If Chewbacca is a Wookiee, you must acquit. So he's not an actor, obviously, because he's in something that doesn't exist. And then he thinks he can play the guitar. Thinks he can play the guitar, but he can't. He actually looks a lot like, if you ever watch Breaking Bad, Wendy, the sort of daytime prostitute skaghead in Breaking Bad, she just looks like Lawrence Fox with a wig. So he's untalented. He's just been dropped by his agent. He's got no friends because of his crazed right-wing, holier-than-thou bullshit ideas. He was privately educated, of course, and he comes from a long line of famous acting, a big acting dynasty, which includes Jamie Foxx, Michael J. Fox, Megan Fox, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Fox Mulder, you name it, they're all related to this guy. And he's kind of like the runt of the litter. He'll never ascend to the great heights of David Duchovny anytime soon. He'll never have his own TV show. It's just not going to happen unless it's on the new Murdoch, what's he going to call it? The right-wing news, the right news. That's what they'll call it, won't they? The right news. And it's just a load of bullshit and people turning up and lying about everything. Anyway, that's your background on Loser Fox. Anyway, so Loser Fox went on Twitter today to complain that the BBC were going to play the radio edit of Fairy Tale in New York over Christmas, which is something that they've done for years. This is nothing new. They've also played the radio edit of Killing in the Name Of for years. They've also played the radio edit of Creep by Radiohead for years, and The Mother We Share by Churches, because they make a radio edit and then they have the one that you get on the album or the single if you bother to go out and buy it. Now, he's very upset because it means that he can't listen to his favorite song on a radio station that he hasn't listened to for at least ever. And because he was born at the age of 44 by the looks of things. And he's very upset. So he writes Twitter, the BBC, woke, BBC, all woke, no play, makes Jack a dull boy or something. And he's having a moan about this virtue signaling, woke, politically correct, political correctness gone mad thing of the BBC, which is weird because this guy, I assume he appeared on things on the BBC. I know he appeared on Question Time. I think it should be Questionable Time, that show. Yeah, you see what I did there? Because it's always full of fascists and it's a questionable use of your time to watch it. Anyway, so he was on that. And so he had a moan. Anyway, the people who wrote the song, it's a band called The Pogues, and sung it with Kirsty MacColl, who unfortunately is no longer with us, got on Twitter and told him to fuck off. And it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. It was a great moment in Twitter history. Basically, this guy saying, I want them to be able to play this fucking song by this band. It's so not fair. And then the band turn around and go, fuck off. So, yeah, there you go. Lawrence is taking after his uncle's character in Day of the Jackal in terms of competence. So, what have we got? Should Lawrence Fox be on Spitting Image? I think he should be on a spit. It's like waiting for Christmas and not knowing what you're going to get. Oh, that's before I came on, wasn't it? You're probably going to get me talking about what's happened today. Oh, yes, this is the other thing. The EU Brexit talks have broken down. Not because our chief negotiator pooed his pants and ran away crying, or because Boris Johnson is self-isolating with COVID, but because one of the gang from the EU tested positive for COVID, so they've all had to go into isolation, so the talks have stopped. And unfortunately, we've set ourselves this artificial date that we have to get everything sorted by, which was a few weeks ago. and we haven't got anything sorted. And I read today that there are currently boats outside Felixstowe that have been waiting for 10 days to come into port. Let's point out at this point that, like, having a ship waiting for 10 days outside of a port is very, very, very typical for developing countries. Anyway, so we haven't had Christmas yet. We haven't had the mad Brexit stockpiling yet, or it's not been in the news, and I've not seen any empty shelves. We haven't actually had breakfast. I haven't had breakfast yet. God, it's 10 o'clock and I haven't had breakfast. We haven't had Brexit yet, and yet boats are waiting for 10 days to come into a berth of Felixstowe because it's all full. No one could have predicted this, said Boris Johnson, Nadine Dorries, and I don't know, Rees-Mogg, Uri Geller, Derek Acora, I don't know. People who can read the future, none of them saw it. It was like 9/11. It's one thing, isn't it? If people could see the future, why didn't they warn someone about 9/11? Hashtag just saying. It's that joke, isn't it? If you meet someone who reckons they can see the future, just punch them in the face and say, "You didn't see that coming." No, don't. I don't advocate violence. Come on, peace and love, man. Peace and love. Right. Anyway, yeah. So this boat's stuck outside the port, and no one could have predicted that would happen. I may have predicted that would happen. I'm just saying that I may have made a video about it 3.5 years ago. And I think I called it the Port of Liverpool or something, or the Port of Brexit. And it outlined the exact problem that we're facing now, which is there's only so many berths, there's only so many places to put the boxes. And if you've got nowhere to put the containers, your boats all sit out in the water for a week. Obviously, this is the first time this has happened anywhere in the world. And yeah, no one could have predicted it. Neither the magic. Unfortunately, 52% of the population didn't. Oh, now I'm getting a message saying my connection's unstable again. What is it with the connection tonight? This is Sky. This is we've got Sky internet here. So any glitches, it's all their fault. Okay, and I'm not downloading nothing while we're on. Right, okay, so I'm going to go to your messages now because I've rabbited on for at least 13 minutes. And hello to everybody. Thank you so much for joining me again. I mean, I can't believe that I've got so many viewers that have just come every night to watch me talk absolute bollocks. So thank you. And if you could do something for me other than watch, if you could give me a like in the process of this video, that would be amazing. Because if you give me some likes, I've noticed that the number of people watching goes up. Right. Although that does open the door to us possibly getting a troll in the chat, but we'll take the chance. NMTB 1972 says, still have to take out the trash. Take out the trash, yeah. He's not talking about the Tory party, unfortunately. Barnier, did he get COVID from the government when he visited? From our government, probably. It was either that or that field that he was looking for, the level playing field. Sugar Free is saying, White House broadcasting live right now about masks and viruses. The live chat is furious. They don't want it. Yep. Well, they've had a leader who said, haha, it's all a joke. It's a hoax. It's not real. Masks don't save lives. Oh, I'm wearing a mask. You don't need to worry about COVID because I survived it, you know, after getting injected with fucking heroin or something and steroids and Botox. And basically, although my healthcare was all paid for by you sucker taxpayers and the healthcare of the over 120 Secret Service agents that I infected, basically, if you get it, you're kind of going to be a bit stuffed because you won't be able to have the same cocktail of drugs that I got. Yay! So it's nothing to worry about. So he said it's a hoax. He said masks don't work. He said that Fauci is going to be sacked for being, you know, doing his job. It's nothing to worry about. 250,000 people dead. Nothing to worry about. If you're Joseph Stalin or Donald Trump or Boris Johnson, because we've had 70,000 people excess deaths in the UK, and we've got a population 1/5 of America. So actually, if you times 70 by 5, that's about the same, isn't it? Okay, so in terms of population, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So they've got 330 million. And statistically, for how many we've had dead, to be on par with them, we've had 350,000, the million, whatever. Okay, right, back to the chat. I'm trying not to do mathematics, but obviously our death per capita is pretty similar to America's, although ours is a little bit higher. If you go on excess deaths. White House broadcast. Oh, I said that one. I see Pretty Vacant is trending again. Of course, it's for a bad reason. Yes, she is the most evil woman on earth. She is straight out of a Disney film. She as the baddie, not the princess. I must add. Sugar Free says sorry. Don't have to say sorry to me. No, don't worry about it. I don't know what you're saying sorry for. I need Orb Catcher 3 in the last month. Yeah, okay. Is that something to do with Pokemon? We need a strong and stable connection right here. Come on, Sky. 16.5 billion defense budget increase, protecting our way of life. Okay, there you go. 16.5 billion spaffed up the wall on protecting our way of life. Yeah, I mean, that money, you could spend a fraction of that, literally a fraction, and get a better deal by basically getting a load of tech geeks to sit in a warehouse to the east of Milton Keynes and basically hack every Russian server there is and mess things up for the Russians to such an extent that they all turn on Putin. That's what we could do. You know, get them to do our dirty work. But we won't. We'll just spend money on army people. And then when they come home, we'll just sort of abandon them to PTSD. And people who say, oh, can't help those refugees, you've got to help our boys, our veterans and girls, our veterans. And you say, okay, well, can you help them? And oh, no, I'm not doing that. No. Graham, are you applying for the media manager job in number 10? Asked Darren. No. John says, evening all. Evening. Gaz says, on the beach at Da Nang back in Feb, where the US GIs first landed. There's a few great places to go in Vietnam to see. There used to be a museum there called the Museum of American War Atrocities, but they had to change the name because I couldn't say it out loud. No, they changed the name because it was a bit insensitive to the Americans who came over to visit. They were like, why are you calling it this? But it's really up. It's got all of the horrible things the Americans did during the Vietnam War, and very, very meticulously catalogued, as you could imagine, including land mining and bombing the shit out of Laos, which the Americans denied at the time. Interference in Cambodia, which led to instability, which arguably led to the rise of the Khmer Rouge. And there's when I was there, I don't know if they still have these. They had. This is really disturbing. So, what can I say? What's the thing? It's like shock warning, like content warning. Content warning. I'm just going to say something that's really, really unpleasant. So, if you don't want to hear something unpleasant, just put your fingers in your ears and go la 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 for 10 seconds. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so they have like pickled fetuses in jars that are that are deformed through Agent Orange in the museum. And I still have nightmares about it. Okay, you can come back now. You can come back, everyone who was saying la la. You can stop doing that. Okay, yeah, really, really messed up stuff. So yeah, that's the American legacy in Vietnam. What a great victory that wasn't. Interesting though that we have more deaths per million in the UK than the US does. Yeah, KG just said. Yeah, I agree. Armored unicorns to invade Narnia. Yeah. John Barnacle says, I'd like a defense contract, please. Give me a few million, as I think I've got a supplier who can get me some spud guns on the cheap. Maybe we could get like a big boat, like an aircraft carrier, and have no aircraft to go on the aircraft carrier. That'll show. Someone's laughing about Abyssinia. No. I think that's a joke from the young ones, actually. I think I nicked it off Alexi Sale. Can anyone remember? Can you recommend a setup for broadcasting online? Asking for 650 incapable MPs. Well, this is the thing that they were saying about Boris Johnson's sound. Like, his microphone is obviously a long way away from where he is. My microphone is here, but I had a lot of problems sorting this out. So when I first started doing these, I had my microphone just plugged into my laptop, and I thought that it was going through the microphone. It was only when I played it back that I realized it was just recording on the laptop, like through air, rather than down the microphone. So I'm like, okay, so I spend literally hours trying to sort out a way for my laptop to pick up the sound from this mic. It will not do it, but I know my phone does it. So I think, well, what I'll do is I'll put this into my phone and then get a USB cable, and that can go from my phone into my laptop. Ta-da! And that didn't work either, because you actually literally have to hack your phone and put it into developer mode. I'm not even kidding, in order to get that little gizmo to work, to do that thing that it's hopefully doing now. And it's still a bit glitchy. And when I watch it back, I'm like, yeah, that's not great. So if you're a one-man person, most people are one-man person, except for women, transgender people, I guess. If you're a one-man band and you don't have a producer, it can make things a bit difficult. It's like if you're filming something, you want to have a sound op. You always want to have a sound op to make sure the sound is good. But you know, I'm just some schlub in my house in Durham. Well, actually, my girlfriend's house in Durham, and I haven't actually been paid to do any work since lockdown started in March. So you know, I'm not as well heeled as the Prime Minister, who was born a millionaire, went to Eton, went to Oxford. You know, moans about having to live off £150,000 a year. Whoa, it's just, you know, it's horse piss, isn't it? Bastard. Anyway, he can't afford a sound engineer, which really annoys me, because I'm like, I'll do that job, but I wouldn't though, because I hate him. But you know, it's a job that I could do if I needed to get the sound right for him with the right equipment. But yeah, talking about sound, I don't know why I'm talking about this. Yes. Stephen says, Ascension is a gazillion miles from anywhere. It'll cost the taxpayer a fortune in travel, much cheaper to house asylum seekers here. Patel is a moron and the daughter of immigrants. Yes, she is, Stephen. And she's the daughter of immigrants from Uganda, who are Indian heritage people living in Uganda. And they were like, oh my God, Idi Amin is a nutter. Let's get the hell out of here. And he was a nutter. And he told, I don't think they had to leave. I don't think they were part of the group that had one night to pack up their stuff and leave. But one day, Idi Amin woke up and said, everyone who is of Indian heritage has to leave the country. Bye. By like noon tomorrow. Horrible man. He also massacred hundreds of disabled people as well, because he got this idea in his head about disabled people being weak or useless or something like that. It's just horrible. That whole chapter is horrible, of human history, I guess, and the fact that he got away with it and went and lived out, you know, lived out his life in exile in Saudi Arabia, never brought to justice, never brought to. And then when we finally get one of these monsters and we get them and we say, right, we're gonna put you on trial for your crimes, like Slobodan Milosevic, he just bloody dies, doesn't he? But there you go. As did Jeffrey Epstein, although he didn't kill himself, did he? Interesting language, actually, from BJ. Those people who claim now we're a more sovereign nation, with the Prime Minister saying, I have decided, I think, etc. Parliament no longer sovereign then. Well, that's been going on for a long time, hasn't it? Simon Wynn says, Lawrence is taking after his uncle's character in Day of the Jackal in terms of competence. I read that one before. Lawrence Fox is the epitome of white privilege. He's just pathetic. What do you mean he's the epitome of white privilege? Just because he comes from a family of rich, well-to-do actors and got roles because he knows someone. I mean, you know, it's not like Christian Slater only got his roles in early films in the 80s because his mum was Mary Jo Slater, who was Hollywood's top casting agent. Oh, God. Well, it's not what you know. Although I did like Christian Slater in the 80s, he was quite good. He was like a young Jack Nicholson, wasn't he, for a few years, and then just kind of disappeared, which is a bit of a shame. Graham, you got to stop your aggression against the privately educated. I'm sure there's good people amongst them. I don't know any, but they can't all be twats. That's from Darren. No, I gotta make this point again. Right, not everyone who is a massive who went to private school is a massive twat. But pretty much everyone who's a massive twat went to private school. That's my line. Priti Patel didn't go to private school. She's a twat. Dominic Raab, he didn't. He's a total gobshite. Can't think of any others. Okay. So maybe the BBC should play an hour of songs to annoy Lawrence Fox. I suggest we start with Elvis Costello's tribute to Marga Thatcher, Tramp the Dirt Down. I love a bit of Elvis Costello. He's got a Liverpool connection, hasn't he? Grew up in Liverpool. The BBC, for the first time ever, didn't play the number one in 2013. Ding dong, the witch is dead. He must have been furious. That's when Thatcher died. UK Chill, did you see the Giuliani shit show earlier? No, I missed it, but I saw a frame on Twitter just while I was doing the thing saying, hey, watch this at 10 o'clock. And he had like a line coming down from his face of like hair colouring or, oh God, I don't know, he's just bleeding out of his head, black blood. It was weird. Guardian 5 minutes ago, this is from Daffyd saying, bullying inquiry found evidence Priti broke ministerial code for the second time. And in any other normal administration, she would be out. She would be fired, but she's not going to be, because all Sugar Free needs to answer with that is Chris Grayling, the man who's just failed up all his life. I was just reading Devon's message there saying Hakuna Matata, but he put Matthew instead, and now he's deleted it. It's all right, you know, just auto-correct. Don't worry about it. Although I really hate the fact that you can't edit tweets. Could you just let me edit it? Just give me a 2-minute window when I press enter, and then I actually read it again once it's posted. Just a 2-minute window where I can edit it. That's all I ask, Twitter. And also, can you reinstate the Global Scouts Day account, for Christ's sake? It's been offline now for 3 months. You've still not told us why. And I got an email off you 3 months ago saying, hey, don't worry, we've unsuspended you. Don't know why we suspended you in the first place. And it's still not been unsuspended. So, yeah, but no one from Twitter's watching this. It's a mad thing, because if you have a problem with a company in the UK, I get on the phone and blah, blah, blah. But the quickest way to get their attention, especially if you've got a few followers on Twitter, is to say, oh, I got on the train today and it was late and shit. And then the LNER or Cross Country or TransPennine Express, they'll ping you back within the hour saying, oh, can we help? Can we help? Sorry. Because they don't want the bad publicity. But Twitter, if you have a problem with Twitter, you can't call them. You can't send them a tweet to tell them there's a problem, because they just ignore it. You can't contact Twitter through Twitter. Anyway, moving swiftly on. That bodes well for a vaccine that needs to be stored something silly like -70 during transportation. Yeah. Well, we've got to be able to get it into quite remote areas of the world in Central Africa and Central South America and Central Asia. So I think they've got something sorted out, like a box. Someone was talking about this yesterday. I think they've got a box that will store it for a number of days at -70 or whatever it is. UK Chill, I think the Tories are just a poor reflection of the US craptards. Yeah. John Ballycon says we should get the advisor to the Port of Felixstowe and Harwich to sort it out. What's the guy's name? Oh shit, it's Chris Grayling, the man who lost a rigged election to the Intelligence Committee of Parliament. Sky feckin' Murdoch, yeah, exactly. Tom Monk, that sounds like worth a look. Someone's saying no sound, dude. Oh, God. Don't say that. Let's have a look down. Is everyone saying can't hear you? No, it's all right. No sound, dude. Turn your speakers on. I can't even find where I was now. Oh, that was UK Chill. Sorry. Sounds all right now. I've got a smiley face. I assume that means yes, it's all good. The Giuliani press conference was hilarious. I'm going to have to watch it directly after doing this. Is that moonshine you are secretly swigging there, Graham? No, it was tea, unfortunately. I wish it was moonshine. Brexit is, of course, a catastrophe, but we'll adopt a Python-esque attitude to it. This will help things turn out for the best. Yeah. From Monty Python's Life of Brian, when they're all being crucified on crosses. Yeah. 95 Winston Graham. Is it windy or rainy? Sometimes that affects the internet signal. No, it's quite nice actually. Tonight it's quite starry. It's a starry night here in Durham, and we've got a very nice crescent moon up in the sky. This is live. There's a hot mic where the other Trumpites asked, "You think fucking Rudy knows he has hair dye running down his face? So was hair dye. Oh my god, I've got it. Can you all just go away for a couple of minutes? I'll go and watch this and come back." And I'll be a bit rude. That's all right. Give me a like. Trump wasn't even there. Fauci was there too. We've had over 250,000 deaths now. Yeah, Tom, I mentioned that earlier. We're only here because the pubs are shut. Yes, I'm only here because the pubs are shut. Chubby. Do you think I've got nothing better to do in my normal life? Where do all the billions of pounds come from? I don't know. It's a question that Boris Johnson's never had to ask. Remember, Brexit means Brexit. Still makes me cringe. Yeah, that was the great slogan of Theresa May when she was asked, "What does Brexit mean?" She goes, "It means Brexit." Okay. What does onomatopoeic mean? It means onomatopoeic. She'd be a great teacher, wouldn't she? Imagine having her as your form mistress. Ugh. Going to be spent on Serco space cadets. Yeah, we're going to have a space force, apparently, because we need to go into space for some reason that no one can give me. Apparently there's water on the moon. Let's go to the moon and get some water, because we don't have enough of it here. Let's get some water. Let's go to the moon. Water. You go to the Lake District. No, don't go to the Lake District. There's only one lake there. Go to the moon. It was Wally. Apparently, Hugo Chavez rose from the dead to help steal a 2020 election. I would have got away with it too if it wasn't for the ghost of this dead Venezuelan dictator. Gaz Riley says we went to the War Museum in Saigon. Yeah, I think that's what it's called these days. But it used to be the Museum of American War Atrocities for kind of fair enough reasons. I also went when I was in Vietnam. Where have I been? I've been to the place where you get a suit for like 50 quid. That's brilliant. I didn't get a suit. I just like the idea. I've been to the Chu Chi tunnels where it's all the tunnels that the Viet Minh used. Apparently the Viet Cong were it was just a name made up by the Americans to make them sound more evil. They called themselves the Viet Minh after Ho Chi Minh. But they decided to add the Kong on because, I don't know, King Kong. Lawrence Fox appeared on Foyle's War episode War Games as a sinister Nazi sympathizer. Well, that must have been a stretch. Tom, I freely admit we were horrendous in Vietnam. I think bombing Laos and Cambodia was done by Nixon in secret from even Congress. I was very happy. I was too young to have to serve there. Yeah, mate. It was just I met someone in when I was over living in Panama, and he was in Vietnam, and I said, you know, I sort of said, you know, although it did all, you know, turn out really bad, you know, I was sort of trying to be sympathetic, and he was just like, he was just saying what you're saying there, Tom. He said it was just a catastrophe. And he didn't know what he was doing, didn't want to be there. And it just stayed with him the rest of his life. And it just seems like a horrible ordeal to put young men through for little or no reason. And this is what the difficulty, I mean, this is a difficulty in terms of humanity. What do you do in civil conflicts? Because you've got kind of two choices, I guess. Well, you've got three choices. You can ignore it. That's the Trump route. And then it'll just fester. People will die, get more refugees spill over into other countries, which fuels the rise of populists saying, "Oh, we will protect you from these refugees. How dare they come to this country, which is perfectly legal for them to do, to seek asylum? How dare they? We will put them on a rock in the middle of the Atlantic." The other thing you can do is to take a side, which is what the Americans did successfully in the Korean War in the 50s, where they took the side of the South Koreans and split the country in two. And we've had relative peace since. That war's not over, by the way. It's just a ceasefire. And then you've got unsuccessfully, like in Vietnam, where you had two sides, one of which was being tacitly backed by Russia, and the other side, or the USSR, and the other side basically being very, very much backed by America, but not Britain. I think Australia was in Vietnam, but a lot of countries said no to it for obvious reasons. It was someone else's fight. And coming in on one side, it just seemed like the French were there for many years, weren't they? Because it was old French Indochina. I think they just washed their hands of it and went, "No, can't be dealing with this anymore." Then there's a third way, which is what I want people to do. The UN, NATO, just the Allied powers, the EU, or the African Union, which is to sue for peace and try and get the two sides into a room. So instead of fighting, instead of war, you have jaw. And it's this thing of there's a Doctor Who episode, isn't there? Where I think it's one of the David Tennant ones where he's got a box and he's like, "You press this button and it'll wipe out all their army, but it might wipe out yours. Do you want to press the button?" I think that's what the gambit was. And he said the whole thing was just to get the two people into a room to talk, because this is how all wars end. Now, you can either do it straight away, or you can wait till 500,000 people are dead and then do it. But it's better that you do it straight away. Get them into the room, get them talking, get them negotiating. And that's how pretty much all wars end, apart from World War II, which obviously is a bit of an outlier when it comes to conflicts, especially civil conflicts, because civil conflicts are a lot more complex. And if you go in on one side and then another third party comes in on the other, you end up with another Syria, where the leader of Syria, al-Assad, he's been in charge since his dad died. His brother, I think, was supposed to ascend to the throne. It's one of those presidential monarchies, but his brother was killed in a motorcycle accident, I think. Anyway, so he took over, and al-Assad has been he's been one of those sort of problematic dictators that isn't problematic enough to actually do anything about, until the Arab Spring in 2011, and the Americans decided to go against him, and he would have been toppled, but Putin decided to go in on the side of al-Assad, possibly because all of al-Assad's family fortune is in Russian banks, apparently, or so I've heard. I might be wrong. But yeah, rather than getting the people, the Kurds and in the north, and the people of Homs, and the people with the government to sit down in the room and discuss a way forward, it's just been this stalemate. It's just been this horrific conflict now for 9 years. 9 years it's been going on in Syria, and like I say, the overflow from Syria is destabilizing other countries around. I don't think that Erdogan in Turkey wouldn't have half the power he's got at the moment had there not been a million refugees coming over the border from Iraq and from Syria. An unstable country is a big problem for the world, and this is where, if you take money away from international development and you give it to our military, that's a bad move. That's a very, very bad move, because it's better that we help countries where we can, not like tell them what to do, but just get them in a room, get them discussing stuff, build up their infrastructure, build up their ports. It's good for us because it means we can sell them stuff. If they've got no infrastructure, we can't sell them anything. So you've got a country there that is generally in a point of civil conflict, where they're not producing much, they're certainly not buying very much. And just from a mercenary point of view of like, we want to sell you stuff, forget about the morality of it all for a moment. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any economic sense. And of course, it doesn't make any moral sense. We should be helping these countries out. And I'll give a great example of a country that is a failed state that has basically screwed everybody in the world. And that'll be Somalia. Somalia on the Horn of Africa fell apart in about 1991. The government still doesn't run the whole country. You've got breakaway republics of Puntland and of Somaliland. Somaliland is old British Somalia. And it's just been basically an anarchy to some extent, quite a lot of extent, actually, for the best part of 20 years. Obviously, it's settled down recently, and that's because of people sitting down and discussing rather than blowing each other up. But the instability in Somalia led to the Somali pirate situation, in which a huge amount of the Indian Ocean. So if you get a map of the world, draw a line down from the tip of India to 10 degrees below the equator, and then draw that line all the way back to Africa, okay? And it just touches the tip, the very north tip of Madagascar, goes all the way. All that area, all the way up to the Arabian Peninsula, and all that part of East Africa, and all that part of the of India, the west coast of India. You've got the Maldives and you've got the Seychelles. All of that area was, in 2010, the high-risk area for Somali piracy. And there were hundreds of attacks. And what it did was it meant that they had to change the rules of international maritime law so that they could allow armed guards on board the ship. And the insurance went through the roof. And as a result, the cost of moving things around the world went up. And we don't notice it, but everything everywhere got more expensive because of one failed state. And it might not have been that noticeable, but around the world, obviously, it all adds up. And that's an example of one failed state. So if you've got one doing that, imagine you have a cluster of them where they all fail together, or all fall into anarchy together. The knock-on effects to us are negative. They're not going to be good effects. And so, yeah, what Boris Johnson has decided today, blow Joe the clown, he has said, I'm going to take money from schools, building schools and hospitals and outreach centres, the British Council, which is actually very well respected in a lot of countries. I'm going to take money away from that, and I'm going to give it to our military. And I'm guessing it's to, I don't know, to protect our fish. Our fish, you know, like, is it John Redwood who keeps going on about our fish, to go for our fish, they're ours. And it's just a weird thing, that, isn't it, about the fish? You get the army to protect them, that's about, I guess, the Navy. And you're thinking, God, where was this made? Where was this mobile phone made? I think this was made in South Korea, maybe, or China, Japan. Where's this laptop made? I don't care. I don't know. Where was this cup made? We'll have a look. Where was it made? Made exclusively. Oh, it's made in England. Well, that's good, isn't it? For the Walt Disney Company, but they're an American company. So there you go. Most of the things I have in life, and most of the things I own, I don't care where they come from. I don't go, oh my God, this banana has to be grown in Britain and picked by a British hand. It never really bothers me. I think if someone wants to go and do that as a job, and the bananas grow in their country, because sure as hell don't grow here, and that, you know, and naturally, let them. But for fish, it's like, oh no, every British fish must be caught by a British fisherman. And I'm like, what difference does it make if it's a French fisherman who gets, we can't let French fishermen make money out of our fish? I'm like, well, do you extend that to everything? Can you not have an American come over here and be our prime minister? Oh, Boris Johnson's not American anymore, is he? He gave up his passport. But yeah, the point is that so many things that we buy and we use, this camera that I'm using is a Sony camera. I guess it's made in Japan. I'm not demanding that it has to be British. I'm not saying, oh my God, it annoys the hell out of me that this camera that you're watching me on wasn't made by British people, and the raw materials for it didn't come from Britain. I'm like, why would you even think that way? But that is the kind of jingoistic nonsense that we get about fish. About fish, nothing else. Nothing else. No one ever says, oh, you know, I need to make sure that these strawberries are British. You want strawberries all through the year. You have to get them from other countries. No one goes, oh, this pineapple, it's not British. Oh, I'm not eating that. It's just bizarre. But yeah, fish. Anyway, so back to your messages, because I've got a quarter of an hour left. I went off on a bit of a tangent there, didn't I? It was Wally. Oh, you said that one. Lawrence Fox, Vietnam. I think Patel has untreated PTSD and is taking it on others. It could be a reason. Who was the consultant who got £21 million for PE sourcing? KG. It was a consultant who lives in Miami. I think he's Spanish. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but yeah, he basically got money for making a few phone calls. Literally 21 million of our taxpayers' money. to make some phone calls. Yeah, Sugar Free saying is a deal fixer, a jeweler from the US, apparently. The main problem with Rudy isn't Rudy, is a fact that a massive number of racist fucktards believe the excrement coming from him and his cohorts. Pretty much, yeah, UK chill. KG says, I want his job. I think we all want his job. Although I feel bad about taking that much money from a system that can't afford to make sure that the children of the country don't go hungry over Christmas, apparently, except when they can afford it. Lawrence Fox as Nazi sympathizer. Yeah, Graham Weidman's just put up a link. Whoa. I've got loads of messages to go over. I'm going to skip some. Sorry. Fabricant suggests Muslims can't be English. Lol. Isn't some of the cabinet Muslim? Yeah. Well, Chubb, Scotland is manufacturing satellites in Glasgow. Well, there you go. The official name for insurgents in South Vietnam was the National Liberation Front. Okay. I feel sorry for Richard Ayawadi because Lawrence Fox is actually his brother-in-law. Oh my God, really? Whoa, that would be a really tense Christmas dinner. That would be a hilarious Christmas dinner, wouldn't it? Jesus Christ. Air America. I know someone who flew from Air America during the Vietnam War. Wow. Bentham Market, spelled wrong yet. And yeah, the tunnels that the Viet Cong dug out in the far south, Mekong Delta, hot as hell when I got there. Yeah. Vietnam's a great place, though. I love all Southeast Asia, Cambodia, and Thailand. Just the beaches, man, blow my mind. Shooting war is so last century. Yeah, just get on the internet. It's a lot cheaper, a lot safer. Defo is bizarre. Exactly. Now it's misinformation wars. It's the Great Game 2.0, as I like to call it. Maybe I should write a book called The Great Game 2.0, and then I can claim that I just made it up, which would be great. I'll get copyright on it. I'll get like money every time someone uses that expression. The US fundamentally misunderstood what was going on in Vietnam. It was pure civil war. The domino theory was poorly conceived. When Johnson was VP, he took a trip to Vietnam and was fooled. Yeah, Tom's made a point there. The domino theory. Does anyone know the domino theory about the EU? It was that if we leave, then everyone else will leave. And then we've got that beautiful little cartoon that someone did, and it's all the dominoes with the different flags on from the different EU countries. And the British one is the first domino, and it's fallen the wrong way. And all the rest is still standing up. The domino theory back in the Cold War was that, and this was held by the Soviets, really. It was like, once people embrace the communism, then all the countries in the world will become communist because it's such a great idea. And you often meet people who are a bit stoned at a party, and they'll say, "Oh, communism was a great idea on paper, but a terrible idea in practice." And I go, "No, you're wrong. It was a terrible idea in practice, and it was a terrible idea on paper because it relied on people not being selfish arseholes. Whereas the system we've got, where we've got kind of capitalist socialism, more over to capitalism, unfortunately, at the moment, but because I have a socialist capitalist system in which the more socialist of us who wants to live in a society and look after each other, keep the selfish bastards on the capitalist side in check with laws and regulations and things. So they can't get away with the kind of shit that they pulled with the Grenfell Tower. I don't know if anyone's watching the inquiry, but oh my God, was it yesterday when they had the guy on who basically said, yeah, we cheated the safety test on the insulation of the cladding. We cheated the fire test. They put a layer of metal in or something to stop it going on fire. They failed the first test, and then they did another one in which they cheated, and they knew they cheated, and they let it go through, and they let it be put on a building. Please look it up. It is just wow. And I bet no one. I bet just like Hillsborough, no one will go to jail for Grenfell. I can't guarantee it, but the way things are going. Sugar Free says, I try and steer clear of personal comments about people, but Fabricant is a bit of a sitting duck. Tom Monk says, Johnson was fooled. Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Oh, yeah. Oh, Johnson was fooled into thinking we could win the war in Vietnam and set about trying to do it when he became president. Sorry, Tom, when I started reading that, I thought you meant Boris Johnson, but you meant Lyndon B. Johnson. Silly boy. Oh, not Andrew Johnson. Wasn't there an Andrew Johnson? Oh, it was Andrew Jackson, wasn't it? US president. Sure, there was another Johnson president. I might just be making that up. I have a cousin who spent years imprisoned in the Hanoi Hilton with John McCain. Bloody hell. Yeah, John McCain, that was one of Trump's big things, wasn't it? He hates the armed services. He thinks they're dupes. He thinks they're suckers, and he didn't respect a guy like McCain, who was tortured and didn't give any information away, and he was tortured for a very, very long time. And Trump just thought that it was dead funny that this happened to this guy. Trump's really, really sick. He's as we all know, he's a psychopath, sociopath, absolute nutter. Very, very dangerous man. I've just had a big update of the messages, so I'm gonna have to skip over a few things. So I'm gonna go past. I'm gonna read something out that Attila's put because I like this one. This is I think this is Arthur C. Clarke. Maybe you said this. First World War started with horses and ended with aeroplanes. Second World War started with aeroplanes and ended with nuclear weapons. Third World War will start with nuclear weapons and end with bows and arrows. Yep. John Redwood is my local MP. Oh my God. I'm sorry, Alex. This is Alex here. Honestly, worst MP known to man, especially having a Welsh family. The few times he's knocked on our door, we've made it known. I'll be like, come in, Mr. Redwood. And then he'll never be seen again. Oh, no, officer. No, he didn't stop here because he obviously saw my bollocks the Brexit sign outside and he didn't bother calling in. Bye. The Cod Wars of the 70s, the Royal Navy kicked Icelandic sailor for trying to stop British trawlers plundering. Navy killed Icelandic sailors for trying to stop British trawlers plundering their waters. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And the actual Cod Wars were won by the Icelandic people, not by Britain. Really, really embarrassing bit of British history. It's a great book by James Felton, which I really, really recommend. It's called 21 Times Britain Was a Bell End, and it's really, really good. Can't recommend it enough. Priti Patel, do you know that Priti Patel worked for the referendum party? I hate Priti Patel. Brian saying, why does everyone forget about the French involvement in Vietnam? Well, they started it. A bit like the Panama Canal. They started it, 27,000 people died, and then the Americans came and finished it off, except they didn't do such a good job with the Vietnam War. But yeah, it was the French that started it. So that area was French Indochina, I think all the way to Thailand, which was at the time Siam. And yeah, they treated it like they treated most colonies. And one of the things that the worst sort of thing that the Europeans did when we went to all these countries around the world is like trying to make the native people of these places into little French people or little British people or little Spanish people. So it'd be like, no, you can't speak your own language. You're going to speak our language now. No, you can't have your own religion or your own gods. We're going to have that now. I think it was the British who famously burned Buddha's tooth, which was in the tomb, the Temple of the Tooth in Kandy in Sri Lanka. It was like the most sacred object that they had in their religion. And yeah, the British burnt it. The tooth that is there now is said to be a replica because the British destroyed the original one. Yeah, imagine if there was a piece of the true cross and someone came from the other side of the planet and burnt it in front of all the devout Christians in London in the middle of Trafalgar Square and went, there you go. What do you think of that, eh? Not great. And again, why it just drives me mad when people go on about the British Empire. Oh, you look at the map and it had all these pink bits on it. Oh, and you went, oh, we owned all those bits. Oh, weren't we great? And you're like, the actual stories behind that are just quite horrific. And the very few rays of light that you can get from it are very few and very far between. And it also makes the assumption that these countries wouldn't have done so well for themselves had the British not turned up. And I'm like, yeah, tell that to Sierra Leone, mate. Tell that to Nigeria. Tell that to like the countries in the Caribbean that have really, really struggled getting on their feet. And then you compare them to countries that have been independent a lot longer and which are doing fine. So it's this elitist white European attitude, and it's the same one that you hear when you get people saying, oh, these countries are not ready for democracy yet. They're not ready for democracy. And I'm like, oh, fuck off. if we can manage to budget through with the dickheads we've got in our country, then I'm sure they can manage it in any other country in the world. Someone said about the new Sainsbury's ad, which features a black family. They said, oh, I watched that and I don't recognize myself. And I'm like, sorry, are they not human? Are you not human? Is that why you don't recognize yourself? Oh my God. That's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And obviously Brexit times internet has empowered these motherfuckers, and they can say what the hell they like. But yeah, going back over our history, 21 times Britain was a bell end. I remember getting that and I thought, was it only 21? I'm sure it was more than that. Oh God, it is. Sorry, Charlie Pierce, I just read your message. The book's actually called 52 times Britain was a bell end, because yes, 21 times is not enough. Sorry, James Felton, 52 times Britain was a bell end. Got it upstairs, I can't get it. Oh good, stuck in Dublin for a few days. What? Hang on, Kevin, are you having your own conversation here? Chubai says, we left India far poorer than we found it. Yeah, we plundered it. What's the name of there's the diamond, isn't it? The Corey Moore diamond or something in the Queen's helmet. And that's it's India's. And we're like, no, we're not giving that back. We took it. You came over here to our country and you took this thing and you went back to your country with it. Yeah, but it was ours all along, really, if you think about it. And the Elgin Marbles, well, they shouldn't even be called the Elgin Marbles, the Parthenon Marbles, which are just stolen from Greece. Oh, we'll have that. And you got Cleopatra's needles that were just stolen from Egypt, along with like pretty much everything else from Egyptian antiquity, which was plundered by the French and the British. There's a joke in The Simpsons where there's like the Tutankhamun exhibition is coming to Springfield, and Lisa says, "Oh, it's the first time these ancient Egyptian artifacts have ever been out of Britain." Yeah, James Felton is great on Twitter. Funny guy, cuts to the truth. He is a very funny man. Ho Chi Minh tried to ally behind Truman, but the US didn't want because of France. Didn't want to because of France. Ho Chi Minh's generals won over going communist. Rudy Giuliani was sweating so much today during his podium statement because he was sobering up. His hair dye was running down his shirt. He was hurting that bad. Oh my God. He is a broken man. It's kind of like horrible to watch. It's like you watching someone having a breakdown in real time. I honestly don't think he's long for this world, to be honest with you. It's the state of him. And unfortunately, any positive legacy that he might have had is he's just pissed it all up the wall with this ridiculous kowtowing, this cringing, this craven attitude towards Trump. It's just, I hate it. Brian saying Ho Chi Minh was in Paris at the Treaty of Versailles. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Is there anything actually British in the British Museum? The Sutton Hoo treasure, I think. Don't know. Worst places to be stuck. I've got to go. Our cat's puked on the bed. Oh, sugar-free. That sucks. I'm sorry. Chubai says I can get to Athens easier than the British Museum. Yeah, that's fair enough. And Charlie Nasser saying, did you see Giuliani and Seinfeld? I wasn't a massive Seinfeld fan. It was all right. My girlfriend at the time really, really loved Seinfeld. She used to watch it a lot, but I was never that into it. I've watched a few episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which always made me laugh. And especially that one where he gets a prostitute into his car to go into the two-person lane. You'll have to watch it. It's one of those things. It's like Breaking Bad. You try and explain it to someone, it sounds shit. But if you watch it, it's really funny or good. Right, 10 o'clock, beer o'clock, says Darren. I think I'm going to go for a beer. I think my lovely partner, Catherine, I think she's broken open a can of beer to make herself a shandy, so I'll finish that off for her. William says, thanks for chatting while I cleaned up the mess my dog made. He decided his bed was his mortal enemy, and now there's fluff absolutely everywhere. Later, Graham. Oh, my word. It's a big disaster tonight, isn't it? That would be, I've lost my connection. Oh, come on. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I lost my connection again. If you'd like to quickly just give me a like before you head off to bed, and I will see you tomorrow, bright and early, 10 o'clock for the Hughes at 10, I think. Sounds, doesn't it? You have to press end stream, and then you have to go up to the middle of the screen and press end. So I'm like, I'm going to sign off now, and oh no, it doesn't actually stop me. So yeah, I organized my patter there to try and just finish off smoothly and then disappear into the night, but I fucked it up. So sorry, everyone. I'll try and be better next time, and good night. Adios.